Season's greetings, one and all. I'm Paul Sevilla, librarian here at the Livermore Public Library, and I'm wearing a Barong Tagalog, which is a traditional formal Filipino shirt worn at special occasions. Speaking of which, welcome to our very special program, The Language of the Holidays, Cultural Traditions Around the World, presented by Encore Players and guest presenters. Kindly put your mobile devices on silent. The show's about to begin. And now, please welcome the director of tonight's program, Donna Blevins.
I'm Donna Blevins, and I'm wearing amber from Poland for my portion. Encore Players is a community theater group. We do about 2 plays a year. We try to make them socially relevant, poignant, and something that people can relate to. We perform at Bothwell Arts Center. Most of us have been in some Encore production. We have a couple of new people, Ellie, we have Meg, we have Sally, and we have Trish, who will give opening comments. Thank you. Thank you. It is.
So I'm Tricia Monroe. I think maybe part of the reason I was asked to be here is that I'm on city council for another 3 days. And then a new council takes over. But in my other life, the one that I'll be returning to shortly, I'm a scholar of Jewish studies and a sociologist. And one of the things I look at is religion. And so I'm going to start with, sorry, this is going to be a little longer than you want, perhaps, but you know, I'm here now, way it goes. Yeah, get the hook. When I used to teach students prayer, there was a prayer that Jews say in the evening about being protected from the dark. And there's a line in there about being sheltered under God's wings. And that speaks, it's only said in the evening. And what I would say, and I think that this speaks to this period of this season of the year, what I would say is that the reason we say it at night is because we, with our lights, cannot appreciate what it's like to be when the world gets dark. And so in the evenings we say a special prayer that reminds us that we're protected and that the light will come again. And so that brings us to this time of year. And around the world, where times get dark, where the seasons are short and it's cold and it's dark, religions around the world celebrate with light. Now the light has different meanings. It's a very different thing to have a Christmas tree and to be celebrating the birth of Jesus than to be celebrating Diwali and the bringing of light in India, or to be celebrating Hanukkah, or to be celebrating Kwanzaa. All of these things have in common light, and the idea that in times of darkness, we bring light. And what light enables us to do is feel secure, to see each other's faces, and to recognize our common humanity. And that and together, we can have security and safety, being together with the light we bring to the program.
Trish, were you
speak? I forgot. All right. I'm Trish the Jew. So this is okay, so first of all, completely forgot I was first on the program. Okay, so Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a very minor Jewish holiday. It is one of those holidays about, let's see, the Jews say, what? They tried to kill us, they failed, let's eat. It's probably all seen a menorah. This is mine. Probably eat some latkes along the way, fried potatoes. By the way, the fried potatoes are not ancient because, you know, New World, so probably not before 1600. And as I was thinking about how to talk about Hanukkah, here's the thing, it is a minor Jewish holiday. It brings light. And it was a folk holiday that the Jews of the time, which is about 2,000 years ago, thought was really important. Again, because of the light, and also because the Maccabees, there was a war, the Maccabees won. That was the part about, they tried to kill us, we won, let's eat. The Maccabees turned out to be really bad rulers. Rabbis weren't happy, but the people liked the story because, you know, what's not to like about, you know, the underdog winning a good story, you know, winning. So Hanukkah became a thing. And it became a thing about miracles. The rabbis said, okay, fine, we got this guy, we don't much like him, but what we can talk about is what happens when we go and we purify the temple that was desecrated, and we bring in, there's only enough oil left for one night. It lasts for 8 days, 8 nights, until more oil is brought in. That is where the oil comes from, that's where the story is, and that's where we leave it. It's maybe a story you've heard along the way. I can tell you that when my kids were growing up, it's a story I told every year. What I want to say, though, is that I feel really mixed about it. And here's why. So this isn't maybe the story you want to hear, but here's why. For Jews, the really important time of year is the fall, when things are getting going, when we celebrate Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It is at Passover, when we celebrate the movement from slavery to freedom. Those are the two main central parts of the year. This is fun. This ties in with the dark and the light. But if you really want to know the essence of what it means to be Jewish, ask yourself, ask your friends to invite you to a Passover Seder. Ask someone to blow the shofar for you in the month of September. And in the meantime, have some latkes, light some candles, and enjoy, because bringing light's a good thing.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Greetings. My name is Asale, and I would like to thank you for inviting me here. And my language, holiday language, is in reference to Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is an African American celebration. It celebrates the harvest of the first fruits. And Kwanzaa was created by a gentleman by the name of Malana Ron Karinga in 1966, because at that time there was a lot of unrest. There was the riots, a lot of things were going on. The civil rights movement was going on. Black people were trying to find their culture and their understanding of their culture and their history. So he created Kwanzaa. And Kwanzaa is celebrated for 7 days. I told my children, you can celebrate Kwanzaa, you can celebrate Christmas. So since Kwanzaa is celebrated for 7 days and they had been celebrating Christmas already, I said, okay, we're going to celebrate for 7 days. Which one do you think they like? But the seventh, and in Kwanzaa there's a candle holder, and it's called the Kanara, and there are 7 candles. 3 red, 3 green, and 1 black. And you always start with 1 black candle. Black is for our people, red is for the blood we shed, and green is for the motherland. It's for the country. And the most important part of Kwanzaa is the table, because you have to explain to children exactly what each one of the articles on the table represent. And the Nguzo Saba is what is called the 7 principles. And there's a lot of books you can read about it. If I say a few things that you understand, it's not something that only African American people live by. The 7 principles is what we all live by. one of the principles, and I like the word Kujichagulia, and all the principles are in Swahili. Kujichagulia means collective work and responsibility. So I know all of us as a group of people practice collective work and responsibility. And so all of the other 6 principles are on those same bases. Now, you have every people, like this could be a Kwanzaa celebration. If we start off this as a Kwanzaa celebration, I'd say Habari Gani. And you would say Habari Gani. But you would say today is, if it was Kujichagulia, I'm going to wear that one out because I love it. I'd say Habari Gani. You would say Kujichagulia. So that means what is the news of the day? So every single day there is a different principle. And then you talk to your children about that principle. What is collective work and responsibility? What is the Nguzo Saba? I'm going to get off of Kujichagulia. So the first day is Umoja, and that means unity. Kujichagulia, self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Nia, purpose. Kumba, creativity. And Imani, faith. So which one of those principles do we all not practice in the course of our lifetime? So we come together to practice these 7 principles because at that time we practiced them, but African American people were getting started on really trying to understand their history and culture, and this Malala Karinga used as a tool to help us to come together to understand what Kwanzaa was all about. We put a flag, we have a flag there, and I always have a little card so children can read each one of the articles in Swahili, and it's also in English. And we have the corn, that is called the Mika, and that represents our offspring. The mat is the foundation. We all have a foundation. The fruit represents the harvest of the first fruit. Kwanzaa means first. And there are indigenous African people who still celebrate harvest. So Karinga modeled Kwanzaa after the harvest celebrations that still go on. And today, over 40 million people in the United States celebrate Kwanzaa. So it's not trying to take Christmas away because it's after Christmas. It's celebrated from December 26th through January the 1st. And so you can choose if you like Kwanzaa, if you like the Nguzo Saba. There's an emphasis on elders. When a Kwanzaa program first starts, if we started this off as a Kwanzaa program, we would ask the eldest person to come. We would ask permission if we could continue with this program. And that person would say yes, and we would continue. We would do a libation, and the libation would give homage and honor to those that have passed away. So I would say Harry Tubman, or I would say whoever it was that I knew that wasn't here. Maybe my mother, maybe my father. All because we stand on their shoulders, and we have to give them the recognition that's due to them. And each time you say, McKinley Tarpley, that's my father. You say Ashe. There's a lot of African words that are in the celebration of Kwanzaa. You pour the libation, and then when that's finished, then you sing like lift every voice and sing. That's the national black anthem. And once you finish that, you present the table. You present it a little slower than I'm presenting it. But you go over each and every article that's on there to explain what that article means. And like I said, the candles, the 7 candles are the 7 principles that we all live by. There's the flag. The book represents knowledge. One of the special things that children like is on the 6th day of Kwanzaa, which is Kumba. And that is when we pass gifts out. We don't go buy gifts. If I am an artist, I may draw you a picture. If I like to dance, I may dance for you. In a big group like this, we'll have a drummer come in and they will drum and they will have dancers, and that is our gift to everybody. Because in our celebrations, in a lot of different celebrations, the drums play a very important part, drums and dancing. So we always have the drums and the dancing. And I don't know if I went over everything on there, but Kwanzaa is a lot of fun. If you're ever somewhere where they have Kwanzaa, don't feel like you can't join in. Because, like I said, the principles, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa are things that everybody in this room live by. Thank you.
Namaste, everybody. Namaste. Thank you. And my name is Meghna Mitragotri, and I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so thankful that I've been invited to represent my country, India, and talk about the festival of lights, Diwali. Diwali is Festival of Lights. So let me tell you about the word Diwali. The word Diwali or Deepavali, it's also called Deepavali. It is derived from the Sanskrit language. So the first part of the word Deepa means light, lamp, lantern. And Avali means row or continuation or series, hence row of lights. So that's how the word Deepavali or Diwali came into existence. Now there's a little story in our Hindu epic Ramayana, if you've heard of Ramayana. So we, by the way, have lots of gods and goddesses, and one of them is Lord Ram. So Lord Ram, along with his wife Sita and his brother Lakshman, were sent on a 14-year exile. And during that time, Rama's wife Sita was abducted by this demon named Ravan. And then, along this journey, what happened was that Ram defeated Ravan, brought back his wife Sita and his brother Lakshman back to his kingdom Ayodhya. It is that victory that really signifies this whole celebration of Diwali. Hence, it is called, victory of lightness over darkness, victory of knowledge over ignorance, and that's how Diwali is celebrated. Now, Diwali, unlike a lot of other festivals, does not fall on a particular day. So we follow something called as a luni-solar calendar. So Diwali typically falls between mid-October to mid-November of every year, and it lasts for about 5 days. Every home, every Hindu home, so it's not just celebrated by the Hindus, Diwali is also celebrated by the Jains, Sikhs, and some Buddhists. So what we do typically is, leading up to Diwali, people do the deepest of deep cleans. You'll be amazed with the things that are found during that time. There are a lot of renovations that are done. Any new business that needs to be started, that's kind of the right time to do it. And then, of course, once the festival starts, every home is lit up with diyas. Diyas is lamps. And what I'm going to show you now, I have a lot of props here, so I'm just going to show you one by one. This is what a typical diya or a lamp is. It's made of clay, and it has a little wick, and then you just put oil, and then you just light it. So every home, indoors, outdoors, on the porch, backyard, garden, you just light these lamps, beautiful lamps. We're not going to do this because we don't want to burn the building down. However, you know what? Our gods are pretty accommodating nowadays. We have candles, we have LED lights, we have string lights, so thank you, God. But the point is, as long as you light lamps in your house, you are, you are welcoming Goddess Lakshmi. I told you we have lots of gods and goddesses. So on one of the days, we also worship Goddess Lakshmi, who is the goddess of wealth and prosperity. So we thank her for what we have, and we wish for some more. So, and then what we also do is, have you heard of rangolis? So rangolis is nothing but a beautiful round pattern made with some colored powders, some being white and others, yellow and reds and all those beautiful colors. And in just a few seconds, I'm going to do a rangoli for you and show you. And then maybe after the program, you could come and take a look. So rangolis are typically drawn. They used to be drawn, and maybe some people who are good at drawing do freehand. But for someone like me who doesn't have the time, who lives on the other side of the globe from home, we have these really fancy gadgets these days, like this little sieve that already has a pattern, and in about count of 3, your rangoli is done, and that's what we're going to do. So, and then we make lots of sweets and savories. Okay, this is, okay, what's the shape of this leaf? Anybody? What, banana leaf, that's right. So in Hinduism, banana plant, banana leaf is supposed to be very sacred and pure. So a lot of ceremonies and auspicious occasions, we serve food on a real banana leaf, but other side of the globe, I can't find a banana leaf, so I have access to this melamine plate that looks like a banana leaf. Anyway, so what we do is, make sweets, exchange gifts with our friends and family. So what I have here is some dry fruits. That's a thing that we give out to neighbors and friends. And then we also make some really yummy snacks. This is a savory, a salty snack called murukku in southern India and chakli in the northern India. Oh, we have a lot of states, and every state has a language of its own. And then we also have laddu, if you've heard of laddu. So that's a sweet, and this is a savory. And then we have dry fruits and all that good stuff. People wear their finest clothes. This is a typical Indian sari, and with finest jewelry. A lot of them being real, and some being fake, but look gorgeous anyway. Really, it's one of the most celebrated festivals in India, and I think it's just to remind each other that we're here for you. May you have all the sparkle in your life, and my wish to you is that may your life always have lots and lots of lamps with the best of memories, always. And now for the fun part, I'm going to do a quick rangoli, which you can take a look after the program. Let's see. I hope it works. I tried it several times at home, but so rangolis are made with colored sand. They're also made with flowers, petals, pulses even. So it's like dusting sugar, It's almost like that. So you're almost there. And then I just roll it. I think that should do. And then I lift. It's almost like stenciling. Yeah, almost, yeah. I don't have time to. Okay, and you can come and take a look once this is done. But it looks really, really pretty. Let me come up close and just show you. Oh, yeah. You can come and take a look after the program. But that is Rangoli. So it's all about diyas, Rangolis, sweets, snacks, clothes, fake jewelry, and a lot of love. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Happy Diwali,
Xin chào, everyone. Vietnamese for hello. So the big winter holiday in Vietnam, as it has been for several thousand years, is Tet. And Tet is time to the moon. It's known for color. Afterwards, come up and take a look at these photos that I took while I was there. Anyway, the efficient Vietnamese people have combined into one gigantic celebration: New Year's, Christmas, and Thanksgiving. And your first thought is, Christmas? Yes, remember the French occupied that country for many, many years in French Indochina. And there's vestiges of Christianity there. You will see Christmas trees at Christmas time if you go to Vietnam. Only about 6% of the population identifies as Christian, but they all celebrate it. Their Thanksgiving, like ours, centers on family get-togethers, and the whole country darn near shuts down so that folks can travel to be with their family. So suggestion to you, do go visit Vietnam, but for heaven's sakes, don't go during Tet because you won't find any restaurants and attractions open. The massive public decorations, which are, you'll see on the table here, start about 2 weeks before the beginning of Tet. But the preparation for all that starts months ahead of time, which is why I got to see some of it. The red colors in there, which red is Da, it stands for luck and passion and love. And the yellow, Vong, is for wealth and status. And blue signifies peace and calmness and hope. The colors you don't see are white and black. They're studiously avoided because they stand for death and bad luck. So what do people eat during Tet? Oh boy, do they eat. The traditional foods, which I don't have with me here to share with you today, are bánh chong, which is a sticky rice cake, jiao cha, which is sausage, and thịt cô prong, which is a braised pork with eggs. It's better than it sounds. The pork dishes symbolize family affection. And something they call moot, which is a candied fruit, and they really like this stuff. And melon seeds. Don't ask me. During Tet, for about 2 weeks, they do not eat duck, squid, or shrimp. I don't know why. I certainly would anytime. But by the way, don't break any dishes during that 2-week Tet period. It brings bad luck to the family. So what do they do during Tet? Well, obviously, they cook a lot, as we do too. Some items like sausage can be prepared ahead of time, so I got to eat a few foods, Tet foods. And I will eat anything that any culture also eats, including some of those strange eggs that they serve over there. They give lucky money to children. They visit friends, and this is a biggie, but there's a protocol. Day 1 of Tet is spent just with family, and if you want to visit a friend, you need an invitation. Day 2 is visiting friends, no invitation needed. Day 3 is dedicated to teachers and to visiting temples and pagodas where they will burn votive paper and a lot of incense. You smell incense constantly. There is still ancestral worship. We were admitted to several homes and noticed the small family shrines. One of the things they don't do is they don't sweep floors, as it symbolizes sweeping luck away. Our house would look like a pigsty if we didn't sweep for 2 weeks during the holidays. If you're thinking of opening a new business, it is considered very good luck to do so during Tet, even though half the population has left town. And there's dragon dancing in the streets. So Tet officially lasts 9 days, but nearly everybody expands that to 2 weeks. The upcoming Tet begins on January 22nd and will be their Year of the Cat. Officially, Tet ends on the first full moon, which will be on February 5th. When we were there, start date was February 8th, and we left about a week before it started, before everybody had left town. So Happy New Year in Vietnamese is Chúc mừng năm mới. And goodbye and thank you are Cảm ơn and Tạm biệt, which I say now. Please come up and take a look at the pictures. They really go for color. This girl flashed me a wonderful smile just as she passed me.
So the most important day during Christmas in Poland is Vigilia. It's Latin for vigil, and it's the traditional Christmas Eve dinner.
The table is set with bits of cake spread under the tablecloth to remind us of humble beginnings.
Children are told about the importance of sharing gifts, not obtaining gifts. And sometimes they're told stories such as,
The Christmas spider is a legend about a family that couldn't afford to decorate their Christmas tree. They woke up on Christmas morning and found the tree covered in strands of silver and gold from a spider's web. So it is considered good luck to find a spider on a Christmas tree. Some people will even place a fake spider on their tree as part of the decoration in hope of good luck. I personally am not a big fan of spiders, so I'll make an angel instead.
at each Vigilia dinner, an empty chair is placed at the table. This symbolizes a spot for the unexpected guest. It is a Polish belief that no one should be hungry or alone on Vigilia.
There are 12 traditional Polish Christmas dishes. No meat is served following ancient observations of abstinence. The main course is fish, most famously carp, which is meant to bring good luck. The practice is also observed in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and other Eastern European countries. A few of the dishes are
Pierniki,
Polish gingerbread,
barszcz czerwone z uszkami,
red borscht with dumplings,
zupa grzybowa,
dried mushroom soup,
kapusta z grosem,
cabbage with split peas,
jarznowa sałatka,
vegetable salad,
śledzie,
herring,
karp,
carp. Or sometimes we just get fish and chips from the ale house. Before sitting down to enjoy the Vigilia meal, guests pass around a large wafer called opłatek. The opłatek has a large paper-thin rectangle made from flour and water that usually has a holiday image on it. I'm sure it's hard to see, but you can come check it out later. Everyone takes a piece and it goes to each guest at the table, offering Christmas wishes. After the wishes are given, you each break off a piece of the other's wafer and eat it. I offer you a happy and safe Christmas season.
thank you. And I offer you, and that's good luck, health and happiness and lots of love and light. The first star. It's Polish tradition that you never start eating dinner until you see the first star of the night. Sometimes it's overcast, but children will go and sit and look out the window looking for the first star.
If it's cloudy outdoors, we may have to pretend there is a star, but tonight we don't have to pretend since we have the stars above us. Wesołych świąt.
Bożego Narodzenia. Thank you.
The star-shaped lantern hanging above us is called a parol. The parol, it symbolizes the Star of Bethlehem that guided the three wise men. The parol is traditionally made at home. That one was made by my dad. And it comes in many designs. The parol was originally made to hang on lamp posts to guide mass goers to Simbang Gabi, which means night mass in Tagalog. Filipinos attend mass either late at night or in the wee hours of the morning for all 9 days before Christmas, because of the belief that attending all 9 masses will grant you a wish. Getting up for Simbang Gabi is not always easy, which is where bibingka and puto bongbong comes in. These 2 delicious rice cakes are the most sought-after snacks and desserts during the season. Bibingka commonly refers to a type of baked rice cake from the Philippines that is traditionally cooked in a terracotta oven lined with banana leaves, and is usually eaten for breakfast or as a merienda or a tasty snack during the Christmas season especially. Puto bongbong is a purple delicacy made with sticky rice that is steamed in bamboo juice. It has a delicious, subtle taste, sweetened with a light dusting of brown sugar and coconut shavings. Noche Buena, another Filipino holiday tradition, is a Christmas Eve dinner that is traditionally served after midnight mass. It is usually a large feast that includes a variety of Filipino dishes like lechon, roasted pig, pancit, and rice cakes. The dinner, the Noche Buena, is a time for family and friends to come together and celebrate the Christmas season. And it's also a great way to try some of the traditional Filipino dishes that you might not be familiar with. Filipinos open presents on Christmas Eve after Noche Buena, not Christmas morning. So Filipinos don't wait for Santa to open presents. Needless to say, Filipinos love celebrating Christmas and the New Year. So let me greet you all. Maligayang Pasko at maligong bagong taon.
I'm Martha, and I'm the musical portion. But I need some help. I have some instruments. We're going to sing Feliz Navidad. We need some instruments. Okay, would you like the drum or tambourine? Oh, that's a tambourine. Tambourine? Okay. Come over here, sweetie. So you can drum or, this one I need an adult. Drum, okay. This is called the kabasa, and you simply hold it and shake. It kind of needs an adult.
Do it, Darren. Do it, Darren.
Come on. There you go. Okay, you want to try it? You just hold your left hand out. That's it. Okay. We grab an instrument. I'm also Filipino, but I didn't know any of what he's talking about. I learned a lot. So we're going to do actually a Puerto Rican song, Feliz Navidad, and I want you to join with me. And the words are, the Puerto Rican words are, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año, y Felicidad. And that just means Feliz Navidad. Merry Christmas, right? Yeah. Merry Christmas, prosperous year, and happiness. Okay? And it was written by Jose Feliciano, who you all know is a very famous Puerto Rican songwriter, who wrote it in 1970. He was sitting in his studio in Los Angeles, really missing his family in New York and his extended family in Puerto Rico. And he remembered his brothers, and he would sing Christmas carols, drink rum, have great dinner together, and he really missed it. So this song came out of his homesickness. So what I love about it is it's the most popular song that you ever know. Everyone knows it. So we're going to start it. Let me just strum and let me hear the instruments for about 1 second, okay? So the beat's going to be. Can you beat it? Okay, good. Okay, you ready? Okay, good. That's all I have to do. And you guys can sing loud, so if they make a mistake, we won't hear it. Okay, ready? Navidad, Feliz Navidad. Thank you, guys. Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año y Felicidad. Woo!
I'm here to talk to you about Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is a holiday that is celebrated in Mexico on November 1st and 2nd, with traditions dating back to the Aztecs, where the Aztecs would leave food and water for their past loved ones on the journey to the afterlife. Unfortunately, due to colonization, our traditions had to be modified. Therefore, a lot of the altar, the main focal point of Dia de los Muertos is the ofrenda, or the altar, or altar. I personally like to call it an ofrenda because an ofrenda is an offering to your guests that come to visit you. So as we all know that when we have guests that come to visit us for the holidays, we have to have like refreshments and food and beverages and all these things. And if you don't have them, your family will judge you. And I'm just saying, even in death, they continue to judge you. So when you walk into a home during Dia de los Muertos, the ofrenda is there. And mainly you have to make it the most colorful thing possible. Has to have light, has to have the papel picado, has to have the iconic cempasúchil flower, which is the most, like, if anyone's ever smelled a marigold flower, it is the most intoxicating smell. And you want to make that like the main thing when you walk into a home, your ofrenda. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when your ancestors come to visit you, you don't want them to look at anywhere else in your house except for the ofrenda. So there are many components to an ofrenda. Okay, mind you, I could tell you, I can go on and on about every element of Dia de los Muertos, but we'll be here all night. This will be like a 4-part episode. So I'm just going to tell you about the ofrenda. So this is a very small scale ofrenda. This is just 2 tiers. A more standard ofrenda has 3 tiers. And there's different explanations of why it's 3 tiers, so I'll give you 2. One of them is, the first scale represents like that we come from the earth or the underworld to represent the earth, which is the second scale, to return to the sky. I like to tell people, since I am a beacon of light for all of my friends and family, I have come from the sky, from the stars, the moon, everything, to come to earth, to then return to the earth, to then return to the soil to become a bigger part of the universe. So obviously I'm making light of a very traditional and time-honored tradition, but if anyone has ever come in contact with Mexican people, you are always aware of 3 things. 1, we make light of every situation. 2, we are dramatic and theatrical about everything. And 3, when those 2 things fail, tenemos tequila. But in all seriousness, the very first ofrenda that you make after a loved one's passing is the most, it's the hardest ofrenda. You're putting every element of your past loved one onto that ofrenda. You're putting photographs, you're putting relics, you're putting flowers, you're putting all of the food that they love because they're coming to visit you on those 2 days to spend time with you. By the second and third time that you make your ofrenda, it's a little easier. You're able to tell stories. And it's when we made our second ofrenda at my house, after my abuelito's passing, that I was able to tell this story. So, picture this, me, cute, adorable, 4 years old. My abuelito had just come to the States, didn't know a lick of English, and we went to Lucky's. This is gonna date myself right here, because if anyone remembered grocery stores back in the day, all the alcohol was towards the front. Not like the hard liquor that's now everywhere. You go to a grocery store, it's like in every aisle now. Now back in the day, in the 80s, it was towards the front. And my abuelito wanted to buy a bottle of Presidente, which is, I believe it's brandy. It's his favorite alcohol in the whole wide world. So here I am, 4 years old, holding my abuelito's hand, doesn't know a word of English, but he wanted to buy a bottle of Presidente. So here I am,
translating for my abuelito with a very limited well, I didn't have very limited Spanish, but having to say numbers in Spanish was very hard. So I had to, instead of saying 24, which is 24, I said dos, cuatro, together. To which my abuelito understood, oh, okay. Took his money out, gave it to the lady, and that was the end. But it's stories like this and little tidbits that, as you know, more Dia de los Muertos goes, like more holidays come, as more of our past loved ones pass on, we tell these stories to help the grieving process. And it's also traditions like this and traditions like we're speaking today that we're able to pass on to our families and our friends and our new loved ones. Thank you.
I'm Vera Davis, and I have two addictions. One is travel, and one is collecting. And somewhere along the line in my traveling, I started collecting Christmas ornaments. Here is a hand-carved nativity I got in Peru. It's alabaster. Here is a Christmas tree ornament that was made in Costa Rica, and I bought it in Cancun. On my first trip to Kyiv, I bought myself a hand-carved Santa Claus. On a trip to Oberammergau, where they do the Passion of the Christ, I bought a Christmas tree ornament. Side odd fact, you can't be in the play, The Passion of the Christ, until you live in Oberammergau for 10 years. But the highlight of most of my trips, I got to go to Bethlehem. I stood where the Magi stood. And I decided I would look at nativity sets there. They were a bit beyond my price range. So I got myself a hand-carved olive wood camel and a laser-cut nativity scene. It was the most interesting trip because the guides were both from Palestine and Israel. Some places there are no conflicts. It was a wonderful tour. And now a short version of the gift of the Magi.
$1.87. That was all. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did it, reflecting that life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating.
Jim and Della Dillingham lived in a furnished flat for $8 per week. Jim's income had shrunk to only $20 per week. But whenever Mr. Dillingham came home, he was greatly hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham, which is all very good.
Della finished her cry and attended to her cheeks. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months, but $20 a week doesn't go far. She stood before the glass and pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length.
Now there were 2 possessions which both Della and Jim took pride in. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's beautiful hair.
On went her black jacket and her old black hat as she fluttered out the door and down the street. She stopped at the sign, Madame Sofroni, hair goods of all kinds. Della collected herself and went in. Will you buy my hair?
I'll buy hair. Take off your hat and let's have a sight of the looks of it. $20.
Give it to me quick.
The next 2 hours tripped by as she ransacked the stores for Jim's present. She found it at last. It was a platinum watch fob chain, simple and chaste in design, proclaiming its value by substance alone, as all good things should be. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. $21 they took from her, and she hurried home with only 87 cents in her pocket.
When Della got home, her intoxication gave way to prudence and reason. She got out her curling irons and lighted the gas and went to work repairing the ravages, which is always a tremendous task, dear friends. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny curls that made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy.
At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the hot stove, ready to cook. Jim was never late.
Della had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday things. And now she whispered, "Please, God, make him think I'm still pretty."
The door opened and Jim stepped in. He looked thin and serious. The poor fellow was only 22. He needed a new overcoat and was without gloves. His eyes were fixed upon Della with an expression that she could not read, and it terrified her. He simply stared at her.
"Jim, darling, don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It will grow again. You won't mind, will you? My hair grows awfully fast. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you."
You've cut off your hair.
Cut it off and sold it. Don't you like me just as well?
You said your hair is gone?
You needn't look for it. It's sold and gone. It's Christmas Eve. Be good to me, for it went for you.
Out of his trance, Jim seemed quickly to wake. He unfolded Della. Jim drew a package from his overcoat and, "Don't make any mistake, Della, about me. I don't think there's anything that could make me dislike you any more than less the woman you are now. But if you'll unwrap the package, you may see why you had me going a while at first."
Della's fingers tore at the string and paper, and then came an ecstatic scream of joy when she saw the combs. Beautiful combs, tortoise-shelled with jeweled rims. They were expensive. She knew, for her heart had yearned for them over in a Broadway window without the least hope of possession. And now they were hers, and the tresses were gone. She hugged them to her bosom. "My hair grows so fast, Jim."
Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present, which she held out to him. The dull, precious metal seemed to flash with the reflection of her bright and ardent spirit.
"Isn't it a dandy, Jim? Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it."
Jim tumbled down on the couch and smiled. "Della, let's put our Christmas presents away and keep them for a while. They're too nice to use just as presents." "I sold the watch to buy your combs."
The Magi, as you know, were wonderfully wise men who brought gifts to the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Here, I have related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. All who give and receive gifts such as they are wisest. Everywhere they are wisest. They are the Magi.
Pay attention. Gonna be good.
7-year-old Luke was looking forward to the upcoming Christmas season more so this year than any other year. He gazed dreamily at the lights on the family Christmas tree through his wire-rimmed glasses. Santa was coming soon. His friends tried telling him Santa was not real, but Luke did not want to believe them. He loved Santa, and he knew he was real. And yet a silver of doubt had crept into his mind. Were his friends right? Luke had to know the truth. he had to prove his friends wrong. As the lights on the tree cast a dancing reflection across his face, he came up with a plan. His eyes widened in excitement as he thought about how perfect it would be. How he could find out with certainty that Santa was real. The days passed quickly, and soon it was Christmas Eve. Luke snuck up to his room and quietly shut his door. It was time to put his plan into action. Sitting at his desk, he wrote a note in his best writing. Reading it back to himself, he smiled as he neatly folded it several times. He made sure no one was looking as he tiptoed to the tree and carefully placed his note. Reading it back to himself, he smiled as he neatly folded it several times. He made sure no one was looking as he tiptoed to the tree and carefully placed his note amongst the gifts. Snug in his bed that evening, he floated off to sleep, dreaming of Santa flying through the night sky. Christmas morning arrived. Luke and his sisters ran downstairs to see what Santa had bought them. They laughed giddily as they looked at presents wrapped in unknown Christmas paper and the words, "Love Santa," written in his candy cane scrawl. They couldn't wait to open the gifts, but family tradition had them starting in the other room, near the fireplace where they sipped on cocoa as they delved into the stockings Santa had filled with so many goodies. Luke's mom stood up and stretched, basking in the smiles of her children, enchanted by the excitement of the day. She slipped into the other room to retrieve a Christmas quilt near the Christmas tree. As she wrapped the quilt around her shoulders, she spotted a small slip of paper amongst the Christmas gifts. She knelt beside the tree and opened the note. In her son's precious writing, it said, "Santa, if you are real, you will give me tidy whities for a Christmas gift." A huge grin spread across her face as she imagined her son writing the note and placing it in its hiding spot, certain not to be found by anyone but Santa. Quickly, she ran upstairs and retrieved a pair of white underwear, playfully called Tidy Whities by Luke. From her son's dresser, secretly she wrapped them in the Christmas wrapping paper, unknown to her children because it was hidden and used for Santa's gifts only before rushing back downstairs to place it under the tree. She returned to her family, who was finishing sipping cocoa in their Christmas mugs. While sitting around the fire together, they were ready to open gifts and made their way to the tree. Excitedly, the children took turns opening gifts, marveling at what wonderful gifts they had received, until Luke opened a gift in the unknown Christmas paper. It was hastily wrapped, and as he tore it open, a pair of white underwear dropped into his lap. His sister's mouths opened in dismay, confused by such a gift. Luke, however, jumped for joy. He screamed with exhilaration. "I knew it! I knew it! Santa is real!" "No one else would have given me this." He then shared his plan, his perfect plan, to prove that Santa was real.
Fröhliche Weihnachten. share an old secret recipe from my German great-grandmother, but more on that later. And also to tell you about German holiday traditions, many of which you will recognize and may not have known came from Germany. For example, the Christmas tree. The tradition of bringing in an evergreen tree and decorating it came from Germany and other northern European countries. Although the tradition in Germany was to decorate it on Christmas Eve, which is also when the gifts were exchanged. Christmas stockings are another German tradition. Originally, children put out their boots or their stockings to St. Niklaus on his Saint's Day, December 6th. And St. Niklaus never put lumps of coal in the stockings. That was his sidekick, known as Krampus, a raggedy devil-like creature who was only invited into the homes of naughty boys and girls. Since St. Niklaus Day on December 6th is considered the start to the Christmas season, another German tradition helped to count down the days until Christmas, the Advent calendar. Originally made of wood, so it could be used year after year, the doors hid little treasures for each day. Candy or nuts, a small toy, maybe a poem or a story. Many of you probably enjoy a German Advent calendar with a chocolate behind each door. I like this one, which has marzipan. A favorite holiday tradition around the world is watching a performance of Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Ballet, but it too has its roots in Germany. Written by German author E.T.A. Hoffmann, the story is based on an old German tradition that nutcrackers bring good luck. Now we see nutcracker figures as popular decorations throughout the holiday season. Perhaps the most pervasive German holiday influence is through music. Many of our most popular Christmas carols originated in Germany, like this one. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht, alles schläft, einsam wacht. While many other carols also originated in Germany, Silent Night is probably the best known. Now to those cookies, which I hope you will enjoy after the performance. There are many German holiday treats that we enjoy in America, including mulled wine, or Glühwein, Stollen, which is a sweet fruit bread enjoyed on Christmas, and candy canes, also originated in Germany. But my favorite holiday tradition is the Lebkuchen, or honey cake. I can remember my German-born great-grandmother, who made these Lebkuchen. And when my own grandmother died before I was born, my 3 great-aunts continued the tradition of making Lebkuchen. And my favorite part of Christmas was getting shoeboxes in the mail filled with honey cakes. Each great-aunt would send us a box and then call us on Christmas to see whose was the best. You see, they were never the same, which is part of the fun to me. The recipe is rather vague, kind of like on the Great British Baking Show, the technical challenge. This is why I can share it with you even though it's a secret family recipe. It takes 3 days and a lot of muscle to make honey cakes. First day is to make the dough. Melt the butter and honey together, add in the flour and the spices until it comes to a boil. Remove it from the heat and keep stirring in as much flour as you can until it gets the correct stiffness. Cover the pot and leave it overnight. Day 2, knead the dough until it's the right consistency. Roll it out and cut it into shapes. Bake it till it's done. While still on the pan, spread the icing made from egg whites and powdered sugar. Remove from the cookie sheet and place it on brown paper to dry. Leave it overnight. Day 3 is the hardest part. Put in airtight containers to age for 1 month. That's right. I made these Lebkuchen in early November, and I always make my official Christmas batch over Thanksgiving weekend. They do indeed get better with age, but leaving them alone for a month is really tough. I will admit to doing some quality control. Now it's myself, my children, and my nieces who make these honey cakes, and we share and compare to see whose are the best. It's one of my family's favorite traditions, and I can't imagine Christmas without honey cakes. So I hope you'll enjoy them too, and all the other Christmas traditions that came from Germany. Fröhliche Weihnachten.
share an edited version of a Christmas story about Christmas pudding in Ireland. Christmas meant that the whole family was together. My parents and their 5 children, and also my father's brother and sister, and my mother's sister. On Christmas Day in Enniscorthy, at 1 o'clock, the same time as every other Irish family, we ate the same food. Turkey and ham and vegetables, including mashed and roast potatoes. The only difference between us and everybody else was that our Christmas pudding was better. The roaches were a byword for the wealth in Enniscorthy. If I ever wanted something new or expensive, my mother would say, "Who do you think you are? The roaches of the castle?" And I would know then that the item in question was not coming my way. But the idea that we were eating the same pudding on Christmas Day as the roaches was a matter of some pride. The recipe, it seemed, had come from America, and it included the usual quantity of nuts and raisins, currants, and candied fruit. But whereas the normal Irish recipe called for suet, ours used butter, which was much more expensive. Anyway, the pudding was boiled for hours, a few weeks before Christmas, and then reheated. Served with cream or brandy butter, or flamed with burning brandy, it was pure, unmitigated luxury. So soft and moist, almost soggy with goodness. Even now, thinking about it, I want some. The only thing to interfere with the sense of well-being and togetherness induced by this pudding came from my father's side of the family. My father and his siblings thought that rude words were funny. My mother and her sister thought they were vulgar. Therefore, every rude word, no matter how small or humble, was banned in our house. I suppose it was the wine that gave my father and his siblings courage each year at Christmas. It turned out that there was a tradition in their home that they would say the same thing each year at Christmas. It appears they had a neighbor called Val, who was a notorious crank. Even on Christmas Day, nothing would please him. Anyway, when his wife would cook the Christmas dinner, and after a long and sumptuous dinner, his wife produced the Christmas pudding and called on him to divide it into sections. She'd say, "Cut the pudding, Val," and Val would invariably reply with, "Cut my shite." Well, my father and his siblings thought this response was gloriously funny. Sometimes as Christmas approached, my mother would ask my father if just once we could be spared the repetition of this exchange. My father would promise to do what he could. But on Christmas Day, when my mother was back in the kitchen and the main course was completed, and the smell of the roast plum pudding wafting in, a glint would appear in his eye. His sister would already be laughing quietly, and we 5 children would be waiting with glee. Well, then the pudding would appear, and the tension rising as my mother removed the covering and began to divide it in among the 10 of us. "Cut the pudding, Val," my father's brother would say, And then my father and his brother and his sister all called out in unison, "Got my side!" They'd roar with laughter. There'd be tears running down their cheeks. Well, my mother would take her revenge, announcing that she had bought a very good book for Christmas and was going to spend the rest of the day reading it. We could all do as we pleased, but that we should know she would not be setting foot in the kitchen again. "The maid pays off," she would say sourly. In the meantime, when the glee had subsided, the plum pudding from the roaches of the castle was delicious. Thank you.
So one of our folks couldn't make it tonight, so it's going to take 3 of us to replace him. But we're going to do an excerpt from the old television series Northern Exposure and The Legend of the Raven.
So anyway, ravens are popular in many Native American cultures. They tend to be fearless around humans, and they're happy to dwell near our own human habitations. But perhaps due to their connection with bad luck, ill omens, negativity, a large group of ravens is referred to as an unpleasantness of ravens. In Native American cultures, the bird is credited with restoring light to the world after a period of darkness and is thought to be a sacred animal. If the raven is your spirit animal, then you are likely an intelligent, curious, creative, sociable personality with a deep-seated love for learning. People with the raven spirit animal can appear eccentric or odd because of their intense fascination with the things that interest them.
Now we take you to Sicily, Alaska, from 2 Northern Exposure episodes where DJ Chris in the Morning contemplates the holiday. Season's greetings, everybody, from KVHR, the heart and soul of Sicily, Alaska. This is Chris in the Morning. From where I'm sitting, I've got a great view of all the Yuletide decorations going up all over town. That's right, everywhere I turn my head I see ebony birds roosting for the holidays. You know, twinkly colored lights are nice, and so are plastic Santas and reindeers and manger scenes. But I'll tell you something, friends. Nothing like the sight of a beautiful black raven to get you in the Christmas spirit.
It's an old legend that on Christmas Eve at midnight, all the animals fall to their knees and speak, praising the newborn Jesus. Back in the winter of '68, my dad was doing a short term for DUI in prison, and Mom was, well, I don't know where Mom was. But anyway, I was home alone on Christmas Eve, and I decided to stay up till midnight to see if my dog, Buddy, would speak. He did. I don't remember what Buddy said, and that's not really important. What matters is that a 7-year-old boy had his own personal epiphany. My point? It's that Christmas reveals itself to each of us in a personal way, be it secular or sacred. Whatever Christmas is, and it's many things to many people, we all own a piece of it. Kind of like Santa's bag. Inside, there's a gift for everyone. My Christmas wish for you tonight? May your dog talk.
So this brings us to the end of the program, which will be concluded returning to the darkness to light theme that we have here. We're ending the program with Winter Solstice and a poem by British author Susan Cooper called the shortest day?
Winter solstice occurs in the northern hemisphere between the dates of December 20th to December 23rd.
Around the world, the winter solstice is a significant date. The shortest day, the longest night, and a powerful transition between seasons.
In pagan times, the winter solstice was known as Yule, a celebration of goddess moon energy, when the moon would give birth to the sun.
This celebratory poem captures the magic of this day and the season with the returning of the light. And so the shortest day came and the year died.
And everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came people, singing, dancing, to drive the dark away.
They lighted candles on the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen.
They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive.
And when the New Year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted reveling.
Through all the frosty ages, you can hear them echoing behind us. Listen.
All the long echoes sing the same delight. The shortest day, as promised, wakens in the sleeping land.
They carol, feast, give thanks, and dearly love their friends, and hope for peace.
And now, so do we, here now, this year and everywhere. Welcome Yule!
However you celebrate, may your holidays be happy and full of joy and peace.
Thank you for joining this celebration of holiday traditions.
You're welcome to come up and visit, take a look at the items on the table. There's some cookies, German
Oh, we can just close it. There you go.